What is going on, guys? It's Modded Warfare here. Welcome back to another episode of PS4 Jailbreak Tutorials for 6.72, episode number 12, I believe we're on now. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to get PS4 Remote Play working on a 6.72 PS4, because obviously on a 6.72 PS4, you can't access PSN, so how are you meant to use Remote Play? And I'm not only going to show you how to get Remote Play working over a local connection, but I'll also show you how to get it working over the wider internet, so that you can remote access your PS4 from outside of your network, which obviously a lot of people want to be able to do. So first things first, on the PS4, if we head into settings, we're going to need to get access to the Remote Play connection settings. So Remote Play connection settings. Now, when you try and access this, you might run into some kind of error like this, or a message saying that you have to update to the latest system software, something like that. Generally, if you run into this error, there's two fixes for it. One is to activate an offline account. PSN activate an offline account, which I currently do have. One of my profiles on here is activated. So if I log out of this profile and log into an activated profile, like this one, which you can see is activated right here. So if I log into this account and then go into the Remote Play connection settings, as you'll be able to see, if I go to Remote Play connection settings, I'm able to access it. So if you don't know how to PSN activate an offline account, I covered it in the previous episode. It's a whole process in and of itself. So I made a separate video on it. That's the previous episode, episode 11. It will be linked in the cards in the top right and in the description, as well as all the other videos as well in the series are all linked there as well. So yeah, that's basically how you access the Remote Play connection settings. So the other way to do it is to run Mira Unofficial on whatever exploit site you use. So I use this one here, which you can access by going to the IP address in your web browser. It's 165.227.83.145, or you can go to the other IP address, which I think is 192.241.221.79. So if you go to one of those two IP addresses, it will take you to the exploit host. You can also use Lethals, obviously, your PS Power, whatever exploit site works best for you. And then we're going to go on to the 6.72 and we're going to run Mira Unofficial. So Mira Unofficial basically contains the REN payload, which used to be a separate payload on 5.05 that allowed you to unlock the Remote Play connection settings. It's now built into Hen and Mira, I believe. So if you just run Mira Unofficial, something like that, then you'll be able to access the Remote Play connection settings without activating an offline account. So if you are on a local account, just run Mira Unofficial, and then you should be able to access the Remote Play connection settings. So once you get access to the Remote Play connection settings, just note down your IP address. If we go to System Information, we've got our local IP address of the PS4. So mine ends 1.87. So keep a note of your IP address and then go back into the Remote Play connection settings. Make sure it's enabled. Remote Play is enabled. Now, obviously, you might want to connect using a different device, like an Android device or something. I will be covering that, and obviously I'll cover how to connect all over the internet at the end. We'll just start off connecting locally on the same network. So first of all, if you are trying to do this on Windows and you've already downloaded the Remote Play app, you'll notice a few different problems trying to get this to work. So if we go on to the Remote Play app and we go to PS4, it's going to search for the PS4. And what you'll find is that it will not be able to detect the PlayStation 4, as you can see right there. So it's saying enter a code manually. So we can do that. We can go to add device, and then that gives us the code. And then we can enter that code manually right here. So 5073731. And then I can click link, and it will try and establish a link to the PS4. Looks like it's working, and then you get this error message. And that's because the PS4 Remote Play app requires the PS4 to be on the latest firmware version in order for it to work properly. So because of this, it's not going to work. So what you can do on a Windows computer, so first of all, we're going to uninstall the Remote Play app right here. So PS4 Remote Play, I'm going to uninstall it from the computer, because what you're going to want to do is download the PS4 Remote Play for firmware 5.05, which will also work on 6.72. So this is an older version of the Remote Play app that will work on 6.72. And it also comes with a patcher that stops it from trying to download the latest update to get the newest version of the app. So if you download both of those, again, all the links you need will be in the description. And then if we go on to the Remote Play app, this is the older version. If we extract that to our desktop and then just install it, So So we'll install this older version. Just click next, accept, next, next, install, and we are good to go. Now, if you try and run it, the first thing you'll notice that happens is it tries to update. See, it's checking for updates and it says you must update. So that's why we need the patcher to bypass that. So if we now open the Remote Play patcher, and we'll just extract this out to my desktop here, and we'll run the Remote Play patcher, right click, run it as administrator, and then we'll click me right here. Do you want to make a backup of the original file? No. And it's been patched successfully. So once that's done, you can then delete the patcher. And now if we run the Remote Play app, it will no longer search for updates. It will just work. So at this point, you can then just click start right here, and it's going to search for the PS4. So searching nearby, as in searching on the local network. And yeah, there you go. It found it. No problem. And there it is. It worked. Don't know why I got this error message, but it is working. So I'm using my PC to go back and using the arrow keys. As you can see, it's working. Remote Play is working. So that's how you get it working locally over your computer using the official app, just an older version of it. So that works, no problem. But obviously, that is not going to work for everybody because there is no kind of older version of the Android app and a patcher for the Android versions. If you're wanting to use Remote Play on an Android device or macOS or Linux or something like that, then this method isn't going to work for you. This method only works on Windows. But luckily, there is a open source Remote Play client that you can download here. Again, links will be in the description, that works on all of those different devices. There's an Android version, Linux version, Mac version, Windows version even, and you can use this to remote access your PS4 instead of using the official app. So you can use the Windows version right here. If I download the Windows version, I've got it here just to show you. If I create a folder, we just drag all of the files in and try and use this instead. So if I double click this, run the app. The app is a little bit more complicated. It might automatically detect the PS4 on your network. If it doesn't, then you can click the little plus button to add the console manually. So then you just enter the IP address of your PS4. So mine was 1.87. You click save, double click it. Then it's going to say, you know, what PS4 firmware are you on? So I'm just going to say less than 7.0. It's going to ask for an online ID. You can just generally enter anything you want in here. And then it's going to ask for a PIN number. So if we go ahead and enter the PIN number, so 4376 5140, and we click register, and there you go, it's been successfully registered. If you're not using Mira or Hen to unlock the Remote Play connection settings and you've just used an activated account, you might run into an error with the PSN online ID. You might have to actually enter your real PSN online ID that's linked to the same account that you used to activate your local account with. You might have to do that. And if that doesn't work, then just run Mira and then just use any PSN account name and it should work. So yeah, once you have it activated like this, I can just double click. And as you can see, it boots up and we're now should be able to use it. There we go. Remote Play connected. And there it is. It is working. As you can see, no problem right there. So in terms of using this open source app instead of the official app, it has some advantages and disadvantages. You might be able to hear the audio is a bit crackly on the open source app, which is why I showed you how to use the official app as well, because that might be a bit of a deal breaker for some people. Because yeah, the audio is definitely a little bit crackly there. So that can be an issue for some. It does have some other advantages though. For example, if you go into the settings, you can actually bind your keys to different buttons so that you can actually, you know, use keyboard and mouse to play your games, which is pretty handy. Now, there is a way to do that with the official app as well. I covered it in a previous video using a separate app that kind of hooks on to the official client to do keyboard and mouse play. So you can also do that as well. That way you get the good sound and being able to use keyboard and mouse to play. But like I say, it's covered in a previous video, so I'll just link that in the description. But that is one handy thing that it has built in right there. So yeah, that's basically how you do it over Windows. So next thing I'm going to do is show you how to get Remote Play working on an Android device. And then once I've done that, I'll then show you how to get it working over the internet so you can remote in to your PS4 from outside of your normal network without being signed into PSN. Okay, so here's how you access Remote Play on Android. So if you search for just PS4 Remote Play on the Google Play Store, then you will just get the normal app. But if you scroll down and see more results, you'll find that the open source one is down there. It is available in the Google Play Store. So you can just go ahead and install that. All right, and once that's installed, we can open it. Okay, so first of all, you can see the PS4 is automatically detected, which is pretty nice. If that doesn't happen, you know, if we turn that off and we say it doesn't detect it automatically, you can hit the little plus button down here and add console manually, and then obviously enter the IP address of your PS4. So 168.1.87, and then register on first connection, hit save, and then select the console up here. And then you'll get these three options. We're going to do PS4 less than 7.0 because we're on 6.72. And then because I'm using Mira, I don't actually have to enter a valid PSN ID. And then for the PIN number, obviously it's going to require the PIN number. So in this case, it's 35801039. And then done, register. And then there you go. It's done. Registration successful. So then I can just select the PS4. And as you can see, there it goes. Modded Warfare connected using Remote Play. And boom, we're good. So as you can see, it does work. Remote Play working on 6.72 using this open source app instead of the official one. So yeah, there you go, guys. That's how you get Remote Play working on pretty much any device you want. You know, whether that's Android, Linux, macOS. This open source app works on all of those different platforms, even Windows. But if you are on Windows, you might want to just use the official app, the older version, because it has better audio. But I'll leave that up to you guys, obviously. So that's how you access it on your local network, within your local network. But what if you are outside of your local network and you want to be able to remote into your PS4 from a different network? So that's what I'm going to show you guys right now, how to do this over the internet, connect to your PS4 over the internet. So the way I'm going to demonstrate this is I'm just going to turn off the Wi-Fi in my phone. So I'm now using my mobile data to actually connect to the internet on my phone. So I'm now connected outside of my home network. And then I'll try and connect to the PS4 from my mobile network instead of from within my local network, my home network that the PS4 is connected to. So obviously, if I just try and access the PS4 now that I'm on my mobile network, I'm not going to be able to access it. As you can see, I'm not getting any luck here. So that's because we're trying to connect on a local IP address, which obviously isn't going to work over the internet. We're going to have to connect to my public IP address. So I'm just going to select those little three dots and we'll edit this. So what we'll do is we'll change the IP address to my public IP address. Now, where do you get your public IP address? So if you just head back onto your PS4, go onto the internet browser, and if we just go to a website like whatismyipaddress.com and then go there, and that gives you your public IP address. Yeah, I know I'm going to get the comments now about, oh my God, you showed your public IP address. Anyway, so yeah, that's my IP address. So what I'm going to do now is switch over to the phone again and connect to that IP address instead of a local IP. So that is 92.13.18.23. I'm going to hit save. And so now we're registered under my public IP address this time over the internet. So if I try and access it now, you'll notice that I'm still not getting any luck, still not connecting. And that is simply because my router will be blocking the ports that are used for remote play. Obviously, it'll work internally, but outside to the internet, my ports need to be open for remote play to work. So luckily, that's not too big of an issue. All we have to do is port forward the correct ports on our router, and then we should be able to remote in from outside our network. So that is the next step. So port forwarding is something that I hate having to show people because obviously people have different routers and they all look different and have their own way of port forwarding, which is different to one another. So it's not something I can just show you on my router and then it's going to be universal and work for you guys. So I'll show you guys a resource that I highly recommend for learning how to port forward if you've not done it before for your router. So I'll show you that, and then I'll show you how I do it on my router, and then hopefully that'll give you guys an idea of how to do this if you've not done it before. And obviously I'll show you the correct ports that you need to forward. So first of all, if you head to the website portforward.com and you go to list of all routers, and then this will give you a big list of different routers. So select, you know, the correct one for you, depending on what type of router you have. So for me, I'll just select one of my older routers I used to have, which was a Netgear. So if I look for, say, Netgear, so down in the end section, we've got Netgear. So I'll select Netgear, close the ad. So then this gives me all the different Netgear routers that it supports. So my old one was a DGN 2000. So I'll select that. And then this just gives you a full guide on how to port forward for that router. So even if your router is not listed, just select one that's similar to yours, you know, a similar model number. And then it gives you a detailed guide on how to port forward for it. So it gives you the default gateway address, gives you the default login information for the router if it's not been changed. And it gives you screenshots showing you what section on the router you need to go to port forward. It uses like Xbox Live as an example port to forward. Obviously, we're going to be port forwarding different ports. And then, yeah, as you can see there, it gives you a detailed guide, screenshot by screenshot, on how to do it. So for me, for my router, I'm going to first of all go on the command prompt. So this is what you should do as well. And type in ipconfig, hit enter, find the adapter that's providing your computer with the internet connection. So in my case, it's the wireless LAN adapter. And then copy the default gateway address, not the IP address, the default gateway address, and then just paste that into the URL bar on your internet browser, and that should take you to your router's homepage. It'll probably take you to a login page first of all. So then for me, of course, different router for you, but for me, I go into the advanced settings, then I have to log into my router from here once I get into the advanced settings, and then my port forwarding settings are in the firewall options. So I go into firewall, port forwarding, and then it's got a big list of games that I can select to port forward to try and make it easier. But obviously PS4 Remote Play is not going to be in there, I don't think. So I'm just going to have to add it manually. So to do that, I go to Manage Games and Applications, add a new gamer application, and then I'm just going to call it PS4 Remote Play. It's not an existing gamer application, so I'm going to say no. And then for the protocol, what you're going to want is TCP port 9295 and the rest are UDP. But I have the option to just do any, which will port forward the port for UDP and TCP. So I'm just going to do that to make it easier. So you want 9295. So I'm going to port forward 9295. And then I also want UDP port 987. So UDP port 987, I'm going to add that. And then also we want UDP port 9296 to 9297. So 9296 to 9297. And I'm going to add that one as well. And then click apply. And that just creates a new gamer app for me to port forward. So once I do that, I can go back to port forwarding. And then it should now appear in this list. So I can go to, where is it? PS4. There you go, PS4 Remote Play. So I can select it. So that's going to ask which device do I want to actually open the ports for. So I'm going to use a user-defined IP address, and I'm going to enter the IP address of the PS4. So 192.168.1.87. If you're using internet connection sharing to share the computer's connection with the PS4 down an Ethernet cable, which is a setup I commonly use quite often, then in that case, you would actually forward the ports for the computer, not the console. But if the console's connecting directly to the router, then it's the console's IP address that you're going to want to enter in here to forward the ports for. So I'm going to click add, and that will add the console right there. And then I'm going to click apply, and that forwards the port. Now, obviously, port forwarding is often on certain routers just does not want to work. So some issues that can sometimes pop up. There's UPnP. If you have UPnP and it's not working, then you can turn off UPnP, because sometimes UPnP, which tries to automatically forward ports for you, if that's causing an issue, sometimes it can kind of conflict with your manual port forwarding. Then just turn UPnP off and leave the port forward manually, and then that might fix it. Worst case scenario, you can enable DMZ. So as far as I'm aware, DMZ, DMZ basically kind of separates your PS4. If you select your PS4 as the device you want to enable DMZ on, and basically like separates the console out into its own separate network that's outside of your router's firewall. Therefore, all the ports are open on the PS4, every single port, because there's no firewall blocking any traffic to it. So that way the ports for remote play will be open because all the ports are open, which does, leave your PS4 unsecure. But I mean, it's not a computer that's outside the firewall. It's a PS4, so it's not as big of a deal. But, it's still not really recommended, but it's something that you can do if port forwarding just isn't working for you at all. Now the ports are open. So if I try and connect to the PS4, again, as you can see, my Wi-Fi is not connected right here. So I am connecting my phone to the internet via the mobile network, not my home network. I'm outside of my home network, and I've got the public IP address of my home network entered as the PS4 I want to connect to. And now that the ports are open, if I select that option, as you can see, well, you can't see, but you will in a minute. There we go. As you can see, it does work. I mean, yeah. Mobile internet where I live is terrible, so that's why you're seeing all these artifacts, but at least that proves that it is actually connecting over the internet and not on my local network, where it would be much faster and I wouldn't get all of these artifacts and stuff. Not to say that you're going to get all of these artifacts, by the way. If you have a good connection wherever you are, wherever you're trying to remote into the PS4 from, if you've got a good upload-download speed, then you're not going to run into all of these artifacts. And if you've got a good ping as well, you won't run into too much delay. But obviously, this is my mobile internet. I live in Scotland, in a rural area, so the connection is terrible. But that doesn't mean it will be for you. But it is working though. As you can see, I am accessing remote play on my PS4 from outside my home network, and it is working, although very poorly. But it does work. Also, I should mention, you should make sure you're on the remote play connection settings when you try to attempt a connection, because if you're not, if you're on the web browser or some other app, it won't connect sometimes. So make sure you're actually on the remote play connection settings on your PS4 when you're attempting to make the connection. But yeah, as you can see, it does work. And I was able to remotely access the PS4 from my computer, from my Android phone, and on my phone over the internet as well. So yeah, that's how you fully set up PS4 Remote Play on a 6.72 PS4. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video or found the information useful. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you guys in the next one.